Hi, my name is Said Mendez, and today I'll be talking about authentic representation of American Indians in youth literature and why it matters. When we think about children's books, we usually think of them as something simple or just for entertainment. But in reality, these books play a huge role in shaping how young readers understand the world around them. They influence how kids see different cultures, communities, and identities. So when certain groups are misinterpreted or not represented at all, it can have a lasting impact. That's why this topic is important. I'm going to focus today on how Native Americans have been portrayed in youth literature, the problems which those portrayals happen, and why authentic representation is so important today. Why this topic matters. This topic matters because for a long time, Native Americans have been misinterpreted in books, especially in youth literature. These misinterpretations didn't just happen once or twice, they've been repeated over generations. Because of this, many young readers grow up with very limited or incorrect understanding of Native communities. Instead of seeing them as diverse and modern groups of people, they are often shown through stereotypes that don't reflect reality. These stereotypes shape how people think. If a child only sees one version of a group of people, they might assume that's the truth. Over time, this can lead to misunderstandings, bias, and even disrespect towards those communities. One of the biggest problems is how Native characters are shown in these books. Instead of being completely, fully developed individuals, they are often reduced to very simple roles like mystics, warriors, or sidekicks. For example, Native characters are sometimes portrayed as having some kind of magical connection to nature, or a wise spiritual guide who only exists to help the main character. While this might seem positive at first, it actually takes away from their individuality and reduces them to stereotypes. Another major issue is that Native people are often shown as if they only existed in the past. Many books focus only on historical settings, which creates the idea that Native communities are no longer part of modern society. In reality, Native people are very much present today, living modern lives while also maintaining their cultural traditions. The impact of stereotypes. These stereotypes are harmful because they create false narratives that can stick with readers for a long time. When children are repeatedly exposed to the same inaccurate portrayals, it becomes harder for them to understand the truth later on. This can affect not only how they see Native communities, but also can lead to disrespect or exclusion. This is especially important because children often learn about different cultures through books before they even experience them in real life. So if the books are inaccurate, their understanding will be inaccurate as well. The lack of Native voices. Another issue is that many of these stories were written by non native authors. While not only non native authors misinterpreted Native cultures, there is often a lack of lived experience and cultural understanding. Because of this, stories can unintentionally include inaccuracies or rely on stereotypes instead of real experiences. This can result in portrayals that feel inauthentic or even offensive to Native communities. This is why it's so important for Native voices to be included in storytelling. When people tell their own stories, they bring personal knowledge, cultural understanding, and an authenticity that others may not be able to fully capture. The change in representation. Recently, things have started to change, which is really positive step forward. More Native authors and creators are now steering their own stories and perspectives. This shift is important because it allows for more accurate and respectful representations. Instead of seeing Native characters through an outsider's perspective, readers are now able to experience stories that reflect real cultures, traditions, and modern realities. It also breaks away from the idea that there is only one Native experience, quote unquote, showing that Native communities are diverse and unique. The indigenered movement. One example of this shift is the indigenered movement. This movement highlights Native creators who are also involved in things like comics, science fiction, and fantasy. What's powerful about this is that it challenges the stereotypes we talked about earlier. Instead of being limited to historical or traditional roles, Native characters are now being shown as superheroes, innovators, and leaders in modern and futuristic settings. This kind of storytelling expands how people see Native identities and show that they are not limited to one narrative. This kind of representation is important because it has real effects on both Native and non Native readers. For Native youth, seeing themselves represented accurately in books can be very empowering. It helps them feel seen, and valued and understood. It also can strengthen their sense of identity and pride in their culture. At the same time, it helps non native readers learn about Native cultures in more accurate, respectful ways. Instead of relying on stereotypes, they're exposed to real stories and perspectives which can build understanding and respect. Personally, this topic changed how I think about literature. Before this class, I didn't really pay attention to how often Native people were misinterpreted in books or media. Now I realize how common these stereotypes are and how they can shape people's thinking without them even realizing it. It made me more aware of the importance of questioning what I read and thinking about who is telling the story. It also showed me why representation matters, not just for Native communities, but for all groups that have been historically misinterpreted. To conclude, the authentic representation in youth literature is important because it challenges harmful stereotypes, supports Native voices, and helps create a more accurate understanding or different cultures. As readers, we have responsibilities to be aware of the stories we consume and to support those that reflect real experiences. By doing this, we can help create a more inclusive and respectful understanding of the world, starting with things as simple as powerful and as the books that we read.